Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first podcasty thing. You'll notice how I said podcasty thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have a name yet, so yeah. Until then, it's the podcast thing that we do sometimes.
So, I've got an itinerary here of things we're going to be discussing.
Yes, we're very professional.
By very professional, you mean the fact that we've got like 2 4s and a couple of 5s because
two 3s as well, actually, and one of the numbers has nothing written after it, so that's just quality. That is quality journalism.
Yeah, pretty much. So we did warn you all that we were going to be doing this on Facebook.
Yeah, we did. But, yeah.
So, well, here it is, pretty much.
So shall we start by introducing ourselves? I mean, I'm sure everyone listening to this already knows who we are, but just in case.
And if not, you poor men and poor women, you will do soon enough. Do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, you guys will know me as Amata. I do most of the daily news as well as Let's Plays and reviews, and I just did the very first live stream last night. Yes, we've been going for a while now, 4 years, roughly, and we haven't done a stream until last night, so that was good. And why don't you go next?
I'm Paul /CrimsonRayne, and I handle most of the tech stuff, and I occasionally do some of the news, but yeah, very rarely, and also very rarely do the editing as well.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not that she's giving me a dirty look now or anything.
It's taking advantage of my editing degree, I swear to God.
Yeah, there you go. And I, of course, handle most of the technical analysis and frame rate testing and that stuff on the channel. Yeah,
although I do help sometimes with the graphics comparisons as well.
Yeah, so. And you can taste my pain of being up to like 3 a.m. with the tears and the salt and the sadness.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm also the one who does E3 and stays up till like 5 in the morning because Sony hates me.
Well, they hate everyone. They're about the trademark of Let's Play. We'll go into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. Yeah. So, I guess we should talk a little bit about how we got into gaming. So, why don't you start?
I figure you should start because mine's probably going to be a longer tale.
Well, I'm not asking for like the ABC documentary on your life here, but okay.
I was going to say, because brevity is definitely a strong point here.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like you've done videos that are like 45 to 50 minutes long where you're just rambling about some piece of technology that really interests you. Well, that's not a thing you've done several times.
Several?
And, some of your videos have been as short as 30 minutes lately, so you're getting better.
I've learned to condense. As I said, it's like my favourite quote, one of my favourite quotes is from West Wing, and this is not verbatim, but it's something along the lines of, in my house, if you're just using a couple of words rather than, what was it, like several, then you're just not trying hard enough, and that was said by President Bartlett, so... Yeah.
Right, so that's your like...
that's my mantra in life.
That's your mantra in life, okay.
So,
well, I don't remember if I asked for it or not because I must have been pretty young at the time, but we actually had...
I'm sure there's dirty minds going on.
Actually, I had a Master System 2 was my very first console. The one that, if you didn't put anything in, Alex the Kid in Miracle World played.
Wait, copyright.
Copyright. Yeah, we better not. So yeah, that was a great game. I had, I think, Sonic for that, and I can't really remember. But
be honest, how much did you hate Rock, Paper, Scissors in that game?
Oh, no, what was the name of the game for it? It was called something else in the game, I can't remember.
Janko, I think.
Something. Some silliness, I don't remember.
I bloody hated that. There is actually a way of doing it, supposedly, that...
Apparently there is a strategy, just like real Rock, Paper, Scissors, there is actually strategy to it, but I don't know. Anyway, so I had that, but I don't really remember that super well, because obviously I was pretty young at the time. The first console I really remember well is probably the Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on where you're from. Obviously I knew it as Mega Drive, so...
Do you know why there's a difference in naming between the two regions?
No.
Do you want me to tell you?
Because Americans like to be special.
No.
I don't know then.
There's actually a very good reason behind that. The actual reason behind it was they actually wanted the name Mega Drive in America as well, but they couldn't go with it because I can't remember what had already taken the trademark name, but something else was already using it, and therefore they were forced to use Genesis.
Oh, okay. I honestly, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why they're the only region.
Okay, fair enough. No, I was only joking before. I didn't know that. So yeah, I had several games on that. Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Shinobi. Oh god, so many Sonic games on that. And then yeah, that just kind of went from there. I had a I'm completely blanking on the name now.
PlayStation?
No.
Saturn?
Yeah, that one. I had that for a bit, and I didn't really like it very much, and I kind of missed out on some good games because I actually changed it for a PlayStation 1, and that's really where my journey began because, I have so many PlayStation 1 games and eventually got PS2 and just kind of went from there, really, so yeah.
Okay, do you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay.
Notice how I kept that under about 4 minutes.
So anyway, let me start.
But to be fair, I didn't go into the later on where I skipped PS3 because it's too expensive because I was a student and I got Xbox 360 after like a year after it came out. But it's not really relevant.
No. So, for me, okay, it's a tale of love. So essentially, when I was really young, I was given it was a Pong system. And I was so young at the time. And bear in mind, the system was ancient when I got it. It was like, it was with the paddle controllers. And
my God,
I liked it. And
I think I've even seen one of those.
I don't know if we still got it. It might have been chucked like years ago. But I had the damn thing, and I played it when I was really young. I must have been like 3 or 4 at the time. And then it moved to an Atari 2600, which was still old because remember this sucker was released in like late 70s, I think.
Before we were born, basically.
Yeah, there were a couple of different models of the Atari 2600, as it turns out. And I owned one with like various different cartridges, including, I think it was Frogger or something like that. And then eventually I got a Master System too, which, like Amy, it was including the Alex the Kid, plus Sonic, plus other games. Then I got an Spectrum, then I got an Amstrad CPC 464, and then I moved on to a few other different systems, and eventually I got a Mega Drive / Mega CD, which I absolutely hoard. I love those systems. Mega CD was such an amazing system.
I never actually knew the Mega CD was a thing until a few years ago when I started watching Angry Video Game Nerd, and I was like, oh my god, that's a thing that exists.
You know what? I actually really loved the GUI in that thing. It was kind of ahead of the time. The biggest issue with the Mega CD, and the reason I don't think it caught on, was A, it was so prohibitively expensive at launch, and B, I think that they should have increased.
Well, that was a problem with everyone really towards the end, when everything crashed into oblivion.
Well, yeah. And also the fact that the colour palette was kind of limited. It was still only 64 colours, which you could do dithering and stuff, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then eventually I had a few other bits and pieces, but eventually I moved on to the Saturn, which I had for several years, and I still own my original copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is worth like 200-300 Great British pounds now.
Yeah, not that you'll ever sell it though.
No. And then I got a PlayStation, and then at that time, roughly, I got into PC gaming, and then I become part of the master race. Random little thing. When I first got a 3DFX graphics card, which was like the 3D cards back in the day, then obviously back in the day, the standard PC was only like 2D. So you had like these 3D accelerator cards.
Oh, is this a Half-Life thing?
Yeah, and it was like, I had a friend who came round like I would say a couple of hours actually after I installed the damn thing. And true story, we were just looking at the damn Half-Life intro. We played through it like 2 or 3 times with it on and off, and it was just like...
It was very ahead of its time, I do remember.
The 3DFX cards were just like, oh my god. And then it just kind of went on. I got like a PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox...
Yeah. We've basically got everything but the Wii U, and that might change with the new Zelda coming out. That's assuming
to be fair, that
looks
kind of sexy.
Yeah, but I've got a feeling it might be the next launch title, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Oh, I did forget to mention that I was a bit of a late comer to the PC Master Race.
Yeah, I kind of...
Yeah, like when Paul and I first met, I was primarily gaming on my Xbox 360, which, as I said, I got fairly late in the game because I was a student and had no money. So I was gaming on that, and then I think I just got like an old PC, like made from like the someone sold me or something. I can't really remember. And it just kind of went from there, because even that fairly old PC was...
Yeah, because I gave you some hand-me-downs as well.
Yeah, basically. So I couldn't play anything like crazy on it or anything, but it just kind of like opened the world of Steam, and it's insanely cheap games.
Wide-eyed.
Yeah, and so that was like, well, probably about 4 years ago, over 4 years ago now, that happened, and I already have almost 200 games on Steam, so there you go.
No, I've got about 250, but that's not including other
I was
accounts.
going to say that I do have like Origin and Uplay and GOG as well, so...
I tried to ignore Uplay as if it didn't exist, but
yeah,
unfortunately...
Well, sadly, you have to acknowledge it if you want to play Ubisoft games, so... So yeah. I think that covers everything important regarding how we got into gaming. I mean, it's the cliff notes, you know, they don't want a sodding life story.
Yes, you do, viewers. Comment differently. Comment differently. Prove her wrong. No, yes. No. Look, prove her wrong.
If you want a life story, we'll write a novel or something for you. You can just read that instead.
And we'll sell it for $9.99.
Like $14.99. Get your references right.
Okay. So I understand that people have been asking about hardware.
Yeah, when I did the stream last night, people asked me what my hardware is, and I did tell them, but just in case you didn't see the stream, it's GeForce GTX 670 and...
By the way, you've got the 4-win edition, so it's about 680 in performance.
Yeah, so it is the overclocked edition, and I've got an i5 2500K?
Yeah, which is overclocked as well, about 4.4 I think.
Yeah, something like that.
16 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, 16 gigs of RAM. So, yeah, that's me, and you?
Well, I don't actually consider myself owning one graphics card because I've got access to several.
Just go for your main system, because if you start listing, all the rendering rigs will be here till Christmas.
Okay, so
all the cards I've just got lying around from AMD, just main system.
And Nvidia, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so my current main rig is an i7 4770K, which is overclocked moderately to about 4.2, 4.3 gigahertz. 16 gigabytes DDR3 memory, which I believe is 2133, or it might be slightly higher than that. Current graphics cards an R9 390, although I go between that and several other cards, including GTX 780 Ti's and 290X's and other bits and pieces, depending. And we've also got a couple of rendering systems as well. One of them is an FX 8350 with, I believe, 8 gigabytes of RAM, whatever graphics cards are required at the time. And we've got some other stuff as well, which is just kind of lying around.
We've got a fair few review samples lying around, and I will be getting an upgrade, hopefully, sometime soon in the, GPU and CPU department, so that should be good. And kind of in time with getting an SSD as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, I've also got... Technically, I've got all the parts for a Skylake system, and we did review one. We got, like, the memory, and we've got the motherboard, but... we didn't get to keep the CPU, which is fair enough. However, I've not been tempted to actually upgrade. I kind of felt like doing it at one point, but the performance is just not enough considering the prices. Just after I did the review, they went up way too much. And to be honest, I'm just going to kind of wait for Zen. Because
yeah. I think that's probably wise, to be honest. I mean, someone asked me in the stream, like, should I wait? And I said, to be honest, yeah, just wait, because even if it doesn't come out till Christmas, you haven't lost anything.
To be honest, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be about the third quarter-ish.
Yeah, I know, but I was just saying, like, even if it's that late, you haven't lost anything.
No, I mean, to be honest...
I'd rather that than waste money on a CPU and then you get it and it's not great.
Well, I actually had this discussion with someone a while back on Facebook, because people message me all the time asking for upgrades, and it's kind of funny because you can get a really cheap system based on i7 1360. No, is it 1366? My brain's gone blank. But basically, the new socket type, and you can use like Xenon processors, and you can get a really cheap overclocked system. Like, you can buy the parts of eBay. Like, the CPU is like $50, so it's like literally nothing. You can buy them off eBay, and while they're not super fast, if you overclock them enough, they actually outperform, like, to be honest with you, they outperform quite a lot of the CPUs. They outperform like Sandy Bridge and stuff.
Surely you get a heat problem though.
No, as long as you've got a decent heatsink fan, which most of them do, and because they were built primarily for servers, they operate at fairly good temperatures, so it's not a bad option. Or, to be honest with you, another thing is, even a 2500K at the moment is more than enough. You could probably
just do a whole video responding to people's, like, what shall I upgrade to questions.
Probably. So I guess we should probably move on to what have we been playing this week?
Well, last night I had the pleasure I guess, of playing Pony Island, which everyone seemed to be talking about. And
let me just say, from the name of that, it makes me sad.
Yeah, the name is very misleading, and the opening menu screen is very misleading. Like, the menu screen, like, when you actually set up the options and stuff, is all bright and colourful, and it's got this very cheerful music. And then as soon as you click start, the absolute fuckery begins. It is such a weird game, but it's really interesting. It messes with you every time. At every turn.
You know what? Because I'm evil, it just immediately wants me to put that on for little Johnny. Like, so.
Oh, no, I don't think little Johnny would get it, to be honest. But no, just for example, like if you. I'm not going to go through all of that happening on the stream because it's like 2 hours, but...
Hint, watch the stream.
Yeah.
Hint,
watch the VOD, damn it. No, basically, I pressed start and then like another menu came up, so I was like, okay, this one was not quite so bright and colourful. So I was like, okay, and went to the options and like things started moving around, like there was a back thing and the back moved from where it was and I literally had to drag it back to where it was and like... if I clicked on like anti-aliasing or whatever, it wouldn't let me, and it was
so it's like a console.
It was no, because the console doesn't even give you that option.
That's true.
Yeah, no, it just like moved stuff around, and and then I like had to quote unquote hack the game to get into it, and then when I finally got into it,
so it's like a Ubisoft game then.
And then it's just really strange. I can't describe it. I don't want to go into too much detail because it would actually spoil it. So I will be doing most likely a proper video on it soon. But it's so weird. I played that, and what else have I been playing? I've been playing a ton of Warframe recently because I watched TB do a stream and it looked really fun and it was free to play. So I thought, why not? I might as well try it, and it's actually really
free.
Fun. It's free. So yeah, I've been playing a ton of that. That's really fun. It's pretty grindy. To be honest, the whole game is a grind, but I find it quite fun.
Is it single player? It's multiplayer.
It's multiplayer, but it's PvE, so it's fine. I don't usually play multiplayer games, but it's PvE rather than PvP, so it's fine. Other than that, I was playing Dark Souls a while back, but then I got sick and just kind of wasn't really in the mood. I got all the way to Sen's Fortress, which is just like a fortress of pain. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing.
For me, Tomb Raider, of course, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I have to say, I mentioned this in my reviewy thing yesterday, and I actually really love Rise of the Tomb Raider. I think it's one of my top games from last year. There are some issues with it, but there are issues with everything if you've played it long enough. There's always
no game is perfect.
No. What else have I been playing? I tried Batman Arkham City because I was actually playing Arkham Knight, and you know Arkham Knight on the PC is fine now, at least for me. Maybe it's to do with the amount of VRAM that the 390's got or something, but I've had no problems with it. And then I moved to Arkham City, and I got to like one of the towers. I won't mention which one it is, simply because, in case you're, don't want spoilers. But basically, I got to one of the towers because of the Riddler, and you have to disable it so you can fly. And essentially speaking, you literally glitch through the entire area, and there's like problems with it. And I was like, bollocks to this. I just can't.
As I said to you before, this was the game where when people were complaining about how broken it was, Warner said they were too busy working on DLC to fix it.
You can definitely tell it was not made by, the original.
Yeah, and I found it absolutely hilarious how when Arkham Knight was broken as shit on launch on PC, they were all like, "Yeah, we're removing it because it's not in the state we knew it wanted it to be." And I'm like, don't try and act like you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart, because A, you knew it was in this broken state before you released it. Don't pretend like you didn't. And B, you're only doing this because you're getting a ton of refunds because the Steam refund policy had just come on. And thank God, because otherwise people would be much more pissed. To be honest,
I never had major problems with it, even on launch.
You were one of the unlucky ones then, because the amount of problems and videos I saw about how broken
the reason I left it was, although I had complete stability, it was the frame rate, because obviously it was rough.
Locked,
yeah, and although there were ways of getting around it, it was a bit unstable. Yeah. And the main reason, to be honest, was because I wanted the better textures and options. So that's the reason I waited.
It took months to fix it, and when it finally came back, it wasn't even really properly fixed for some people. They were still getting stuttering and frame rate problems. And I look
at it this way, I'm fine. It's fine.
That game was just an absolute mess, and it's such a shame because the game itself is fine. but the PC version was just.
I'm playing
bad.
a few other games here and there, like, for example, I've been playing a little bit of Shadow of Mordor, which I've been quite enjoying.
Yeah.
But I'm going to cause some controversy now because I was playing a little Sonic CD yesterday.
Oh, God.
Now, as you know, well, you probably don't, but you know.
I know.
Well, yeah. That I'm quite a big Sonic fan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're the original Sonic fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were a Sonic fan. It's kind of hard to be one these days. To be fair, so was I, and then things happened.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I think a lot of people who grew up in
It's
our
like trying to
generation-
say that you're a Hulk Hogan fan now.
I think, to be honest, a lot of people who are around our age who grew up with Sonic on like the Genesis or whatever have the same feeling of they loved Sonic as they were growing up, and it's just kind of sad watching him stumble around in these terrible games of late. Sonic, what was it? Generations was good.
Sonic 4 as well.
Sonic Generations was good. Sonic 4 was alright, and that was it. Everything else has just been absolutely diabolical.
I must admit, because a lot of people that I was looking at, a lot of internet opinions were like Sonic CD is like the best thing since sliced bread, and you know, I don't like it. I must say,
I've not played it. I'm going to cause a controversy by saying that I've not played it.
I hadn't until I played it on Steam, because I was playing the Steam version.
Yeah.
And the Steam version is kind of cool, by the way, because you get the option between the US and Japanese music.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And for some reason they changed the music.
I was going to say, why did they have different soundtracks?
I'm not sure. I heard it was something to do with licensing.
I was going to say, it sounds like a licensing issue.
But it turns out, most people really like it. Essentially, you've got a stage, let's just call it Stage A. You can go into both I guess you could say the current location, like how it is now, or you can go into a future version, which is like where it's basically being screwed over. Do you know the story of Sonic at all? It's like it's robot. Excuse me.
I think everyone knows the story of Sonic to some degree.
Yeah, well, basically, Robotnik or Eggman created a robot version of Sonic called Metalix, I think.
Metal Sonic, I think.
Yeah, and well, you can also call it Metalix. So essentially, you see him. Well, you see what's happening as like the planet's being taken over by this thing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, cut a long story short, I didn't really like the game. I didn't like the level design. I found it kind of frustrating, and I got to like the second or third level, and I was like, bollocks to this.
Well, I'm kind of the same. I really did not like the one that was on the Saturn. I felt that was just really bad. And
was that what the 3D one?
Sonic 3D. Like, everyone I speak to was like, oh, that game was great, and I'm like, really? It was so just, oh my god, the controls.
Do you want me to tell you another little random thing?
Sure.
There's another Sonic on the. There's a couple of Sonics on the Saturn. There's one, I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically the equivalent of Sonic Generations.
Right.
But it had. It had the option to play like some of the earlier games, the ones that were on like the Mega Drive. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Sonic 1 or what have you.
Yeah.
But it also had a 3D world in it.
Okay.
And this 3D world was actually damn impressive. It was very impressive.
I never saw that one. I just had Sonic 3D, and it was terrible.
It was a demonstration that Saturn could actually handle 3D quite competently.
Just for the first Sonic game, I was just like, what is this?
Yeah. So...
so I guess that's everything for what we've been playing this week. I mean, I did play Hotline Miami a little bit last night as well, but I played that before. It's still a really good game. It's better than 2.
Actually, you know what I was playing last night as well?
Oh no, what were you playing?
Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
Nice, that's a flashback.
Yeah, you know, I've got to admit, I was a huge fan of that series. Especially the original. And yeah, it's pretty damn good. I'm having to play it on my emulator though, unfortunately, because I've got no idea where the hell I put my PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, but whatever. It's fine. It's running. It's good.
It's a thing that works that you can play.
Plus, as well, I can play the Xbox pad, so that makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, that's
rather than my broken ass PS1 pad that I have remaining. So I guess you wanted to talk about some newsy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this week for news, I mean, there's been some interesting stuff, but nothing really that's like podcast worthy, I'd say. I mean, the most interesting things I would say are the whole thing with Sony trying to trademark Let's Play, whatever the balls that's about. Whatever the balls that's about is left to your imagination, because I kind of speculated, as I said in my original video when it first came about that they were trying to do this, that potentially it could be for some sort of marketing campaign like PlayStation 4 Let's Play or something silly like that. But if you actually look at the trademark, it is directly related to streaming and YouTube and stuff, so I don't know what the hell they had planned, but it basically, they do still have time to respond, but it's basically dead in the water as far as I understand.
To be honest, here's the thing. I think every company, and whether it's Microsoft, whether it's bloody Nintendo or what have you, they've all done some dodgy stuff.
I know, but this is bad even for Sony. I mean, my God.
I think...
Were they actually going to try and stop people from using Let's Play on YouTube? It's like, good luck, Jesus.
I know, it's like...
That would have been like suicide, I don't understand.
To be honest, I don't know if they would have done that, but the problem is, when you've got a situation like this, because Sony are obviously remaining tight-lipped, because if it is for a project they don't want to say for, competitor reasons.
Yeah.
So the problem is, when you get situations like this, you're fucking over your own PR, because everyone's going to speculate and they're going to think the worst.
Well... As I said, I tried to think, what is something that's not horrible that they could use this for? And the only thing I could think of is a marketing campaign for, the PS4 in console streaming service.
Yeah.
So they're literally trademarking it so Microsoft can't use that phrase in their advertising for the Xbox One service.
It could also have been something like one of the taglines, because remember, PlayStation had quite a lot, I believe Long Live Play, the greatest play... Yeah, what?
Sorry, nothing. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, that's what I thought as well, that it'd be something like that, but the trademark actually specifically mentions streaming and that sort of video content.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, a trademark is not the be-all and end-all, it's not like it's set in stone or anything, but it definitely gives the implication of them targeting. I mean, it could just be for marketing. That probably is what it's for, but the fact that they've not said anything is concerning to people,
yeah,
and as you
damning.
say... When they're not saying anything, people are going to speculate and they're going to assume the worst because, it's a big corporation and it's Sony who have done a lot to earn back the trust and goodwill of players.
Yeah, they lost a lot of it, to be honest.
I mean, they have done so well with the PlayStation 4 and just the general reputation among gamers. They've earned back a lot of the goodwill that they lost over the years, and this is not conducive to that, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And to be honest, I felt like I mean, Sony have always been a bit iffy. For example, they've lied, or they've heavily spun, for example, some of the specifications of their consoles.
Well, they actually lost a lawsuit because they pretty much lied about the specifications of the PlayStation Vita. That was a while ago, but damn.
Well, don't worry, it's developing okay, so it's not.
If they do another handheld, I'll be very surprised.
No, to be honest, I don't think there's enough room. I think they could do it. But I think
they should just accept it. Handheld belongs to Nintendo.
I think that they could do it, but they'd have to majorly change their approach. I think at this point, people have just...
The problem with the Vita is actually a really good machine. It's a really nice machine in terms of specs. It's it looks good and all that. But it just did not have any games. It's literally an RPG and visual novel simulator. That's what it is.
Pretty much.
There's no games on it. That's the problem.
The thing is, right now, though, if they release a Vita 3 or whatever the hell it's going to end up being called, the next PlayStation Portable, the issue is they've blown so much of the trust of developers and so much of the trust of players. It's not going to happen.
I mean, it might be okay because obviously a similar thing has happened to Nintendo with the Wii U, where obviously the third-party support has
but you've got the legacy of actually being successful.
Yeah, I know, but the third-party support for the Wii U has basically been non-existent, and the Wii U has sold pretty poorly in comparison to the PS4 and Xbox One.
Not in Japan.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, when you compare global figures, the Wii U is not doing great, let's just be honest. And while, it's Nintendo, they've still got to earn back a lot of trust from people and developers as well, because a lot of developers have come out and said there's no point in developing for the Wii U. So.
Well, maybe if Nintendo stopped screwing their own selves over by with the whole Let's Play and fair use policies and all that.
Don't even with that, we could rant about that for ages.
You know what? The thing is with that, and going on to it just for a second, because I could probably wax lyrically about that for the next 45 hours.
I could literally rant and
you know what I don't understand? It's with single player games, I could kind of understand the idea behind their policies, right? But you know what? The one I don't understand, it's you go into a boardroom at Nintendo, and here's what I don't understand. If you're a marketing guy, you work in marketing, you see games like, for example, Mario Creator, where you can create your own levels in Mario, right? Mm-hmm. Or any of these games.
Yeah.
Why in the Jesus of fuck would you not want people to put those creations on YouTube? It's like...
Yeah, like the fact that they don't have streaming permissions, like, I mean, I think most companies have actually built it into the game, but they don't, but, you know, they're not having that, I'll be like, alright, cool. But the fact that they literally will not let you unless, you know, you want to give them loads of your revenue is pretty bad.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It just really hurts my head.
Not, to be honest, it's not a thing with just Nintendo. It just seems to be a thing with Japanese companies that they just don't...
They're getting better.
They're improving, but they still don't seem to get it. Like, Square Enix, the Japanese side, the Western side is fine. Like, the guys who do Tomb Raider flat out said, like, go ahead and do your Let's Plays and stuff. They've given permission, whereas, you know, try and stream Final Fantasy and you'd probably be slapped with a DMCA before you can, hear the intro music.
And then you do a counter notification and then you put it up anyway.
Yeah, but that's not the point. I'm just saying, like, they shouldn't be doing that, so...
I mean, to be honest, I guess that brings us to the next one.
Yeah, we kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there, so... I guess the next one is, what do you want for the NX? There is a absolute ton of rumours regarding this. No one seems to know what it is, other than the fact that it's a home console. So, yeah, what would you like to see from Nintendo?
My personal opinions... Mm-hmm. I'd like to see something fairly easy to develop.
Yep.
I would like a non-gimmicky controller.
Yes.
You know, I'm happy...
That would be great.
I'm happy for accessories. Personally, and once again I'm probably going to get some hatred for this, I fucking hate motion controls. I hate it from Sony, I hate Kinect.
I don't think you're going to get controversy on that. I think most people will be glad to see that buried.
You know what, funnily enough, I had an argument with, obviously you know them, Stephen and Stuart, right? Yes. Which are like childhood friends of mine. And I had an argument with them, and pretty much it was like one of those arguments where you're getting pretty damn aggravated with the other person. And they were swearing blind to me that motion controls with the Wii U controller was going to be like the best thing ever. And their exact wording was that you could be like, beep, 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 beep. Those were pretty much their wordings. And I was like...
stellar argument, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And I was like, it's going to be terrible. I was like... Even if it's as accurate as what Nintendo were advertising it to be...
Which it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. They sold you the Motion Control Plus. It's fine. So, anyway, after that, I was like, you know... No. I mean, I owned a Wii, and motion control, you know, it was okay for some stuff, let's be honest, but I really don't want it... just stop with the gimmicks. Just stop.
Yeah.
So, I want something simple, powerful... decent controls. I'm hoping it will be more powerful than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, if I'm totally honest.
I mean, even as powerful I would take, but more powerful would be nice.
You know what, I'd like that, if only just to stop Sony's, you know, it's the most powerful games console. I just like, okay, you can stop with that in every single one of your flyers now. You can stop. Like, yeah. You know, you've said it, it's like your supercharged PC architecture. Oh, God. How many times did we hear about...
How old is the GPU that's in the PlayStation 4?
Well, it's about 1.84 teraflops.
Yeah, and what's the, like, high end at the moment?
Well, it depends on what your perspective
is
like, by high end.
For a gamer, like, what's the best GPU in terms of teraflops you can get on the market?
Well, you can probably... Well, it depends if you want to go dual or whatever.
Just answer the question.
Well, yeah.
Just, please.
Well, let's say you can get 10 plus.
Yeah, so that's kind of an indication.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's obviously...
Yeah, that's super high-end, but still.
Yeah, but then if you go something like an R9 380X, it's still considerably higher. It's still looking at like 4, 5, 6 flops, depending on how much money you're spending. And you know what, the bottom line is, it's not about the flops, it's about what you do with them. And at this point, to be honest with you, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, they're decent machines, but I just want to see what Nintendo are going to bring to the table. And I honestly believe that they might do some shaking up with the market. I don't want them to fail dismally. I just don't.
No one wants that. More competition is a good thing. I mean, personally, what I want is very similar to what you want. I kind of want them to, enough with the gimmicks, like you had a surprise hit with the Wii, I get it, but you need to just dial it back a bit, I know you've got to have your Nintendo quirkiness in there all the time, and that's fine. But kind of do like, go back to your classic sort of GameCube, like just a good console with maybe a slightly weird controller or something, but don't have a second screen or anything like that, because that is obviously one of the things that contributed to making the Wii U so difficult to develop for.
It's kind of...
Just have a more standard controller, but with your usual Nintendo twist. Just go back to your GameCube style of console, and just something that's powerful, simple, and has great games.
The thing about Nintendo, though, is if you actually look at the hardware, and this is probably veering somewhat into the realms of technicalness, but if you look at the Nintendo systems, like, the NES was pretty powerful for the time of release, but the SNES, the actual video processing unit was really powerful. But the CPU was basically a pile of crap. It was way underclocked. And from what I've heard from developers, because I was looking at like various forums and like hanging out, speaking with them, they were saying that if the processor, if it had been like more robust, the game complexity would have been ridiculous. Because the SNES on launch, I pause this video, open a new tab, and look at Street Fighter Alpha 2 on the SNES, and tell me that you feel that machine should be able to run that game. You can't tell me. I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, holy crap, that is damn impressive. And there are some issues because you have to basically decompress it.
Well, no, obviously there was a lot of tricks from the developers, but with any console, there's always going to be a few tricks that developers have to pull to be able to get
my point
the most out of the machine.
My point is, though, with the N64, there was major problems, basically, with how the system was put together.
The fact they went for cartridges was a problem.
Yeah, well, cartridges, you've got a lot of memory latency.
Yeah.
And basically, the GameCube, in probably a balance point of view, was probably about the most balanced. It had a lot of shading power, it had a good amount of GPU performance. The Wii was essentially an overclocked GameCube. It was basically the same architecture, just faster processors, and then that same architecture when evolved into the Wii U.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying
I just want them to go back to basics, like, don't have a second screen on the controller, just keep it simple.
Yeah, because that actually ate up processing power for the system.
And the Wii U was already like underpowered in comparison to, obviously they didn't know when they first released it, but ended up being pretty underpowered in comparison to the new gen consoles. And
the CPU is actually slower than Xbox 360 as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, so that plus adding load onto the machine by making it render a second screen, which, a lot of games didn't even utilise correctly. A lot of it was just sort of tacked on. Like, you got Zombie U, which is a good example, and then you got 1001 bad examples of it. It just was a real shame, because there are some good games on the Wii U. It just didn't do well, which is a shame. And I just don't want to see a repeat again, because Nintendo need to come back in a big way, I feel.
Do you know, though, that the thing is, Nintendo, in terms of their cash reserves...
I'm sure they've got, like, squillion, trillion bucks hidden away
I
somewhere.
don't remember exactly what the figures are, but I do know that Nintendo could literally just have a failure for the next several hardware generations, and they would be fine. They would not go bankrupt.
I know, I'm sure they would do fine as a company, but they've kind of been out of the console race, really. The main two competitors for this generation and for the last one were obviously been Sony and Microsoft, and I just want them to come back and just be like, alright, okay, your PlayStation 4 and Xbox One's real good, but here's the NX, what do you make of that?
To be honest, I feel that if Nintendo fail this time, which I don't want them to, I want them to kick butt, because I think it would also do wonders for the market.
It would be great to see some great Nintendo games and third-party games on Nintendo machines.
But if they fail again, I would like them just to become a developer. And it would really sadden me if that happened.
They won't ever do that, though. They'll always keep their IP to themselves because they're very protective. That's just how they are as a company.
I think, though, that's a pretty good length. Yes, that is what she said.
Yeah, so I guess that's it for this week. One quick thing. Next week, we are hoping to do some questions from you guys if you have any questions for us. I guess for now...
Why am I watching this? Is probably going to be one of them.
I guess for now, just put it in the comments of the YouTube video, or... on Facebook and Twitter, which is always /RedGamingTech. Wherever you're trying to find us is always /RedGamingTech. And I'm going to be creating a SoundCloud to put this on in the next couple of days. So if you want to listen to this on the go, if for some reason you hate your ears, then you can do that in a couple of days, and I will let you know when that's available.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, thank you very much for watching our first podcast. Hopefully the next time we do it, it'll have a name. Feel free to leave suggestions. I'm sure they'll be very helpful.
Yeah, I feel also maybe it'll be a bit more organised and stuff.
I think we did well for our first time, actually. You
you did good, little Jimmy.
Considering you go off on like 45-minute tangents in your videos, I think we did pretty well to keep this under an hour myself.
I feel, if anything, they're not tangents. They're side quests which are built to
Yeah,
educate.
we're getting more experience. We're about over leveled now for the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm just grinding that. I'm grinding those blood vials.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks very much for watching,
No,
guys.
oh god, just Paul. That'll be fine.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
Bye.